What if I told you that there is a secret key inside your mind? A key so powerful that when you turn it, it completely destroys who you thought you were and awakens a being you never imagined existed. A fearless being, unshakable, a being that does not seek approval, does not hesitate in the face of challenge, and no longer bows to its own fears. This is not a motivational fantasy. It is a hidden mechanism in your brain, an ancient mental code, forgotten by most but known to wise men, masters and initiates who dared to go beyond the veil of the persona. Why do you feel insecure, doubtful, afraid of judgment? Not because you are weak, but because your mind has been shaped to protect a fragile identity, created by trauma, comparisons, and other people's expectations. And this identity, even though it is a prison, has become comfortable. It says, be small, be invisible, do not dare to stand out. But today, you will experience the breakthrough. A brain hack so profound that it not only silences the voice of fear, it shatters the mirror that holds you back from seeing yourself as small and forces you to look at something much bigger. In this video, we'll delve into the most hidden mechanisms of the subconscious mind, delving into the forgotten teachings that reveal how true self-confidence isn't learned, it's remembered. We'll talk about how to shift the frequency of your identity, how to destroy the patterns that sustain the old you, and most importantly, how to activate a state of presence, power, and clarity that completely transforms how you see yourself and how the world responds to you. But be warned, this journey is not safe. It requires courage. Because once you hear what's coming, you can no longer hide behind old excuses. This video is a symbolic ritual of death and rebirth. Are you ready to let go of what you're not? To discover, once and for all, who you really are? Even before neuroscience mapped the brain circuits, before psychology formulated theories about self-esteem, the ancients knew a secret that we are beginning to rediscover today. Identity is not something fixed, but a malleable illusion. In the mystery schools of Egypt, disciples were taken to initiation rituals where they symbolically died to who they thought they were, and were then reborn with a new name, a new energy, a new mission. This was not just spiritual theater. This was primitive neuroscience, a way of reprogramming the internal system of direct participation through symbolism, emotion, and experience. Thoth, the Atlantean scribe, tells us about the need to conquer the lower self so that the true self can ascend. He knew that as long as we are identified with our fears, limitations, and social masks, we will be prisoners of the reflection, unable to see the light that inhabits us. In the East, yogis called this ahamkara, the illusory ego that creates a separation between the self and its essence. In the West, Jung would call this process of transformation individuation, the slow, deep, and painful unveiling of the self, which only happens when we confront and integrate our shadows. And why is all this important? Because your confidence, or lack thereof, is not a matter of talent, charisma, or luck. It is a direct reflection of the identity with which you are fused. If you believe yourself to be fragile, your brain will confirm this in every action, thought, and occurrence. But the masters knew, and today science confirms, that the brain is plastic, adaptable. It shapes your reality according to the narrative you feed it. In shamanic traditions, identity transformation was accomplished through extreme rites: isolation in the forest, ingestion of power plants, non-stop dancing for days. All of this to break the previous mental pattern and make room for the new. Today, you may not need drums or ayahuasca, but the principle is the same. The old self must die for the real self to be born, and that death is often an internal breakdown, a necessary disturbance. This is the point that almost no one says. True confidence is not born from repeating positive phrases or small achievements. It is born from the controlled destruction of everything that sustains the fragile version of who you lost that you were. And in this video, you will discover what initiates shamans and depth psychologists have always discovered: It is not about building confidence. It is about removing what prevents it from blossoming on its own. Imagine your mind as a fortress built over the years, brick by everything you've heard, felt, believed, and repeated. Every word of criticism, every unaddressed fear, every failure you've barely digested, all of them are the foundations of your current identity. But here's the crux of it. This fortress wasn't built by you. It was programmed by inherited patterns, past traumas, and limited interpretations of who you thought you needed to be in order to survive. True confidence, the kind that doesn't waver from the opinions of others or fade in the face of challenge, can't be born within this structure, because this structure was made to protect, not to liberate. And here comes the dangerous but necessary hack. You have to collapse the system. You have to deactivate the old identity and allow a new configuration to emerge. But this can't be done with willpower alone. It requires access to the source code, your subconscious. The subconscious is the operating system of your mind. It runs programs while you sleep, dream, walk, and breathe. It doesn't judge, it just reproduces. And your identity, weak or strong, insecure or confident, is just a script that's running on a loop. Now imagine what happens when you enter an altered state of consciousness. Deep meditation, a hypnagogic trance, emotional ecstasy, or even conscious exposure to discomfort. At that moment, the code opens. The mind's guardian relaxes. And there, if you know what to do, you can insert a new command line. Here's the secret. Confidence is not an emotion. It's a neural state, an electrical chemical pattern that can be induced, strengthened, reproduced. And like all patterns, it depends on repetition and intensity. Repetition to create tracks, intensity to engrave with depth. But there's a hitch. Your old self will resist. It will scream, it will sabotage. It will seek proof that nothing is changing, because it feeds on the familiar, even if it means living in pain. And that's when many give up. They go back to their comfort zone. They put away their ambitions and convince themselves that it's not for them. But those who go through this dark night, who remain conscious in the midst of the inner storm, they are reborn. And when they are reborn, something changes. In their gaze, in their posture, in their vibrational field. They don't act confident, they are. And this being is not learned. It is revealed, like a statue that has always been there under the marble. Your job is not to sculpt something new, it is to remove what is in excess. Because unshakable confidence is not an addition, it is a reminder of what you once were. Before the fear, before the conditioning, before the mask. The mind, when viewed from the outside, appears linear. Thoughts arise, emotions follow, actions happen. But on the inside, it is a maze of mirrors, where every image you project of yourself is reflected, magnified, and reproduced until it becomes your reality. What you call your personality is just the most repeated reflection within this maze. And when you want to become confident, free, fearless, you are actually trying to change the reflection without touching the mirror. That is impossible. For transformation to occur, you have to break the mirror. Or more accurately, you have to break the spell. The old identity, the version of you that hesitates, doubts, hides, is kept alive by internal stories. Stories like, I'm not good, enough, people will judge me, I've always been this way. But none of these stories are inherently true. They are simply emotionally charged memories that have gained authority within you. And here's the dangerous part of this hack. You will need to kill these stories. Kill them, yes, because they will not be rewritten while they are still being fed. It is an internal ritual of death and rebirth. When you find yourself hesitating, doubting, withdrawing, do not react as you have always done. Observe, expose, bring to light. And then say, firmly, this story is no longer mine. At that moment, the old identity begins to crumble, and with it comes emptiness, a silent interval where nothing seems familiar. This is the space between the old and the new, the threshold of transformation. Most fear this emptiness and run back to the familiar. But those who remain, those who courageously inhabit the threshold, discover something extraordinary, that in the silence of no more, yes now, is born. You begin to behave like someone who already trusts, not as a pretense but as an energetic rehearsal. And this rehearsal, repeated, becomes natural. The body responds, the mind adapts, the field around you begins to change. People react differently. The universe, like a quantum mirror, rearranges possibilities. And before you know it, the old you is no longer there. It has dissolved, replaced by a version of you that no longer needs to be created, because it has been unlocked. This is the truth that few people tell you. Trust is not acquired, it is unblocked. And to unblock it, you need to have the courage to confront the character that protected you for so long, not with hatred, but with gratitude. He was needed, but now you don't need him anymore. Imagine yourself in front of a mirror, but not an ordinary mirror, but a symbolic mirror, a mirror of the soul. There, the reflection does not show your face, but your old identity, your doubts, fears, insecurities, memories that repeat that you are not enough. The first practice is to face it. Literally, every morning for 7 days, look yourself in the eyes in the mirror and say, I release what I am not. I allow my true self to emerge. Don't whisper it. Declare it. Say, it is as if you were tearing a veil. This simple act activates your presence. It repositions your mind, and it begins to dislodge the fixations of your previous identity. Repetition, when done with intention, begins to carve paths in the subconscious, and that is where true transformation begins. The second step is to use the power of the liminal state, the moment just before sleep. At that moment, your mind enters a theta wave state, where the filter of reason dissolves and the portal to the subconscious opens. Before falling asleep, repeat with conviction, I am confidence in human form. Visualize yourself acting courageously in a real situation. Feel it, see it. Immerse yourself in the scene as if it were happening now. It's not about wishing, it's about energetically rehearsing a new frequency. And the brain, which doesn't distinguish between what's real and what's intensely imagined, begins to adapt. Third technique, the presence challenge. During the day, choose a situation where your old identity usually dominates, be it speaking in public, starting a conversation, expressing yourself creatively, or even dressing more daringly. And enter that situation consciously, taking a deep breath beforehand and saying a mental command, the old has no place here anymore. Act, even if you tremble. Because the body, when acting in a new way, sends signals to the brain that the danger doesn't exist, and the brain learns fast. And when the old patterns emerge, because they will, you don't reject them. You observe them, like hungry ghosts. And by not nurturing them with attention, they weaken. The old identity does not die with force. It dissolves with lucidity. These practices are simple, but do not mistake them for superficial. They are doors, and each time you walk through one of them with presence, the old dissolves a little more, and the new begins to occupy the place that was always rightfully its. You have come this far for a reason. Something inside you, perhaps still subtle, recognizes that you can no longer sustain the old version, that identity shaped by fear, other people's approval, or poorly digested experiences from the past. And now you know, this version does not need to be overcome with war, but left behind with awareness. The unshakable confidence you seek is not a gift someone will give you, nor a suit of armor you put on. It is a frequency, an inner state that arises when you let go of who you are not and choose, moment by moment, to be who you already are inside but have not yet dared to manifest on the outside. Remember, the brain is plastic, the subconscious is moldable, and external reality is nothing more than a mirror of your dominant vibration. When you change your internal image, the reflection changes as a consequence, effortlessly, without having to force it, like a new sun that rises after a long night without needing to justify its light. So now that the seed has been planted, the question is, Will you just contemplate it? Or will you water it every day with presence, intention, and action? If this message sparked something within you, share it with someone who is also ready to break the chains of the old identity. And write in the comments, "The old is gone, the new is me." Not as a nice phrase, but as a decree of new beginning. The fearless version of you already exists, and now it has been awakened. Are you ready to live by it?